Guys, we have more to go because, believe it or not, it's 2022, and we have to talk about ScoobyDoo.
We're so excited.
I used to really like Scooby-Doo.
Velma.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I thought it was like such a good cartoon when I was a child, and now the modern world has ruined it.
So, as you know, in the Halloween special, Velma is gay, but psych, she's not gay in the Velma spin-off. Yes, yeah, in the Velma spin-off series, she's apparently not gay, even though it's got Mindy Kaling in it, who is considered a gay icon. So I just don't know.
Wait,
but she does have two moms.
Mindy Kaling is gay in real life?
I have no idea. It just
she's not.
She's a gay icon.
How's she a gay icon?
The way Lady Gaga is like a gay icon. Like
they listed her as like an icon for LGBTQ, and like
literally how? How do you earn such a title?
Also,
without
you
being
don't.
gay.
People just are people who are gay are like, I like her show, and everyone's like, she's a gay icon. People love her.
Thank you guys, by the way.
So it says, thank you guys. So it says, gay Velma has
Let
already
us know
been,
what color you want the Halloween lights to be.
Yes.
Gay Velma has already been ruined. Has a crush on Fred in the HBO Max show. So guys, what we're saying here is that there's what? Okay. Did I say something wrong? Because I felt like I said HBO. Did I say HBO Max wrong?
No.
So there's two versions of Velma. There's Velma in the Scooby-Doo Halloween, the spooky one, right? That one is the one that is now
She's
gay.
white and gay.
Yes.
And then the new one being voiced by Mindy Kaling is straight and Indian. So you got to pick something. Maybe not both, but you got to pick something to change about her.
But she does have two moms in this
Black
one.
and gay.
She's Indian and gay she's like gay and white in the Halloween special and Indian and straight in the series. She's Indian only because Mindy Kaling is
and with
Indian.
two moms in this. Okay.
Yes, and what I want to point out here is that this really is, before we get into the details, I want to point out how much of this really is about social. It's about conquering our social settings. It's about conquering our past. Nobody cares about Velma. All they want is to take everything that was once something else and turn it into something. This is where the term
and they're really scraping the bottom of the barrel at this point for new characters to ruin.
And what in this article, the other article we're going to reference here, where they're talking about it with Mindy Kaling, has the gall to mention Spider-Man into the Miles Morales Spider-Man. I'm sorry, that's the exception. That is not the rule as far as like changing a character and then having the public actually like that changed character. Everyone likes Miles Morales. Okay, not everyone. Most people like Miles Morales Spider-Man because he was made into his own character. I'm not even a huge fan of the idea of a mantle anyways, but that works. You do not get to put Mindy Kaling Velma on the same level as Miles Morales Spider-Man. Nope. No how.
Well, okay, let me just read the quote and we can evaluate it afterwards. She said this at New York Comic-Con. We knew it would be fun for me to play Velma, and we had a conversation where Velma is white, and we have this new choice to do the show, and if I'm voicing her, should she be white or should she not? We were really inspired by Into the Spider-Verse. It's animation, we can do anything. The essence of Velma is not necessarily tied to her whiteness, and I identify so much as her character. And I think so many people do. So it's like, yeah, let's make her Indian in this series.
They have changed more than a few voice actors recently because they're not allowed to voice characters that are not their race.
It's really telling that this was even a question in the first place, that this conversation needed to happen. It was like assumed from the very jump that this conversation needed to be had. Should she be white or should she not be? And you can't come out of that conversation saying that she should be white. That would be racist.
Yes. So it's all about it's about conquering social land. It's about conquering the social landscape, right? Everything. It's finally this character is this, meaning that the end goal of any character is to be anything other than whatever the hell it was before in popular culture, because they're creatively bankrupt. I used to push back on this excuse when they're like they're creatively bankrupt. I think they're both creatively bankrupt and morally like just awful people, right? So not only do they want to do all of this social, change everything socially, but they also just don't have the creative ability to make their own characters and have them stick in the public consciousness. So they have to scrape the bottom of the barrel with Scooby-Doo.
And like the idea that Velma or that Scooby-Doo has this dedicated fan base on the level of Spider-Man is such a delusional take. And yet they still find a way to throw shade at the fan base and hate them.
The
If you
trailer.
watch the teaser trailer, we can't show it here because of copyright. Always the same story. It's extremely self-referential to the point where it's basically like breaking the fourth wall and has Velma like almost look directly in the camera and be like, I hate you. This show isn't for you.
Why is this? Okay, and what was it that I said earlier? I'm always much better at speaking when we're not on air. But basically the idea is here, they want to tell you that the show is not for you while promoting the show, and even in making the show, by telling you the show
Making
is
direct
not
quotes at you.
that the show is not for you, which inherently makes it for you, just in a way that hates you.
Yeah.
Who the hell does that?
I mean, it's just encouraging like self-flagellation.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it's also like more so excluding the audience they say it is made for.
Yeah.
Because they're addressing the ones who supposedly hate them.
And again, I hate just the fact that we have to talk about Scooby-Doo in 2022 because
By the
these
way,
people make it a big deal is insane.
Scooby-Doo is not going to be featured in the Velma series at all.
All the characters but Scooby-Doo.
Why? Do they not get the rights for it or something?
I mean, I'm sure they do, but they just wanted to focus more on Velma.
This is why I get so upset when they talk.
You can't race swap Scooby. That's probably
so.
why.
What's the point of wasting time writing for him if you can't do that? And I want to point out that this is why whenever they talk about this, it's done, it's canon now. This character is this now. They hate canon when it's something that they don't like, but they love it when they can use canon as a way of bludgeoning you and saying like, "Ha! Look at what we took from you. Look what no longer belongs to you." When that's not how the people that they're yelling at are thinking about it. They just don't want their stuff messed with.
I think Scooby-Doo is an interesting choice. I think because it has spanned several decades. I don't know when Scooby-Doo first came out, but it's had several iterations in terms of, updating the animation and storylines, and then there's movies, and then there's TV shows, and then there's comic books and whatever else. It really does stood as an animated series. It's also difficult, like not very many platforms stream tons and tons of Scooby-Doo content, like older Scooby-Doo content. Netflix had like one version of it that was a couple seasons long, but again, because there have been so many iterations of it, it is kind of an interesting thing to bring back because they're specifically picking something that will become the default if you search for Scooby-Doo on, I don't know what this is coming out on, but like on any major
HBO
streaming
Max.
platform. Yeah, on a major streaming platform.
So now they own all of the Scooby-Doo IP.
And the other thing is, it doesn't even matter because in the Mindy Kaling version, she's got two moms. So they still have representation. Those characters just won't be on screen as much.
It's just such an irrelevant ass
It's not
detail
important.
that you can tell they were like patting themselves on the back so hard for adding it.
And played by Wanda Sykes and Jane Lynch, to which I say, love both of those ladies in past stuff. Actually, Jane Lynch, most people know her from was it Community? What was Jane Lynch?
I didn't watch Community.
What was Jane Lynch's big thing in, guys? But she plays Spencer Reed's
Glee.
mom.
She was in Glee.
I'm sorry, Glee, not Community. She plays Spencer Reed's mom, who suffers from like severe mental illness and criminal minds, and does a really, really good job in that show. Wanda Sykes.
She's on one episode of Gilmore Girls as a nurse.
There you go. So you can get great actors for things that are completely irrelevant and don't matter. Like you said, why does that matter? It doesn't matter, but it's all about take that, you incels, look at what we've taken from you. That's really what it comes down to. They want to take everything that you loved as a kid and change it, not because they want it, but because you want it.
I just don't even know who this is for, though. Like, is this for adults who grew up watching it? Is it for new
All of that
kids
is now.
to put on? Like, the thing that's charming about Scooby-Doo is that it features a dog that loves snacks and is afraid of things, that hunts, like, mystery, whatever. Yep. Like, there's something very charming about that title character that is not going to appear in Velma. I don't really understand why. I mean, look, I'm a broken record. I think it's boring to keep recreating old IP content and just putting your new values into it. I don't think it's necessary.
Updated
I think if
for modern audiences.
Right, and I think if your values were truly that important and so visible in society that you felt like they had a unique story, you should tell that unique story. You shouldn't just muck up something that already existed to try and present your values in an old medium. Like, I would hope that you feel so inspired by the stories that you know and love to be able to portray them in a new way. Like, that's not what this is doing. And I think in some ways, like, being like, oh, well, we're going to courtesy cast LGBT moms to make it seem like they're represented is sort of, I think it should be insulting, but we're seeing it presented as a victory. So, of course, public sentiment will be like, oh, it's a win.
Yeah.
When really you should be like, no, we deserve our own original content.
25,000 upvotes. 189,000 downvotes, which to be fair, on YouTube, which to be fair, that's more promotion and that's more eyeballs on it than this would have ever gotten if this controversy wasn't happening.
All press is good press.
That's what they're saying, right? So they're like, at the very least, they're not banking on the 189,000 people that are saying that they hate this. What they're banking on is for that 5% of people who just hear about the controversy and then but have no opinion either way. And then when they're clicking through HBO Max one night, they're like, oh, I remember somebody talking about something about Velma, and then they're just going to put it on. That's the market they're trying to court.
I think it's weird too because Mindy Kaling, you know, she was a writer on The Office and obviously acted in it as well. She has the Mindy Project, which did extremely well, had a lot of seasons, had a pretty serious following. She is actually very talented and can create original content well. I don't know why she would sign on to a project that is just pretending to be original content by being like, oh, it's about this character instead of about this character. I think probably she has the creative wherewithal to make something new and original and succeed at that. In fact, I don't follow her career super intensely, but what is that book that they recreated a movie of? A Wrinkle in Time. She was in a Wrinkle in Time remake that had a huge budget. Every movie production of A Wrinkle in Time has famously flopped because it's just a very difficult novel to portray on screen.
It's very abstract and political.
Very abstract.
And I remember Brie Larson having some fantastic thoughts on that.
Well, and like Reese Witherspoon was in it, Oprah was in it, I think Anne Hathaway was also in it, like all these girl boss ladies, and it did poorly, which history could have predicted for them. Like, when Mindy Kaling, from, again, this very limited anecdote, is involved in stuff that's recreating older content, it doesn't do well. Not her fault necessarily, it's just a bad business decision. But she's actually capable of creating original content that's good. Why would we waste her time on Velma? This seems dumb to me.
Because she's ideologically driven more than profit driven at this point.
And I want to come back to the part where they talk about finally. Their audiences are finally ready.
Well, when you're asking who is this for, the AstroTurfed audience is like all of this is getting AstroTurfed basically by journalists, because in every article and every headline about gay Velma, it's we've all been waiting for this, and it's like, just assume that you know this. This is part of the cultural zeitgeist that everyone's always known that Velma is gay. Like, we've all been waiting for this to happen.
Dating Shaggy, and Daphne was dating the blonde one.
Also, there's a better argument.
Am I just super like heteronormative, or that's all I like saw was that these ultimate teenage couples that clearly went to like homecoming together? You know what I mean?
There's a Babylon Bee meme that just said like, people are outraged to find out that Velma, never mind, we don't care. That's all it said. Like, because people wouldn't care. And to the journalists' credit, as Eeple's supervillains, they're doing a fantastic job of making this more relevant than it would have ever been. And we're part of that problem, to be fair.
You know, they're talking about adding Harley Quinn as a character in the Velma series.
Why?
Did you hear about that? Because it's not relevant enough on its own merits. The character doesn't have
Harley
a huge
Quinn
fan
is
base,
becoming the
so they have to
designated
add
hitter
Harley Quinn.
She's becoming designated hitter for HBO
Who is
Max.
also queer baited a ton.
Yeah. Well, I think she is actually in the current run of it. I think she's with Poison Ivy.
Now, even with the new Velma series, they're queer baiting that because they're like, well, that means she could be bisexual. Just because she has a crush on Fred doesn't mean she can't have a girlfriend in a later season.
Don't worry, she could still be cool.
A later season, which by the way is not going to happen because this show, we all know, is going to get scrapped for tax purposes in due time, and then they'll blame that on people's racism, homophobia, sexism, that they didn't support the show, that wasn't made for them at the beginning.
And they're not calling him Shaggy, he's called Norville, which is his real name.
Why aren't they calling him Shaggy?
Because they're just not. He doesn't
this is the weird thing, is like some of these decisions are so ideologically driven, and then other ones I'm like, why are you ruining the charm of this children's series that you're trying to profit off
Thank
of?
you.
You know what I mean?
Because it's supposed to be an adult series now.
And this goes back to what we were talking about
but
before.
that still would evoke the nostalgia that adults that watch this growing up, like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
It kind of goes back to what we were talking about comic books, right? Like they're no longer made for kids; they're made for adults. So whenever whenever you hear people say it's not made for you, actually it was. This was made for you to hate watch.
I think this is the kind of thing that also drives people to YouTube, and you have to bear with me on this like sketchy
right.
theory, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, YouTubers, both who make like vlogs, but also who make their own animations, who make all kinds of content, are more creative. Like, they make original stuff, and they make original stuff to stay unique and relevant, whereas this is clearly relying on subsidization from HBO to exist at all. No one asked for this, and no one really wants it. We don't think it'll survive. Like, it's a pointless project just to prove some ideological point.
All so that we're going to talk in a little bit about, I brought up, I know it was for this segment. I was trying to think of where I remembered Sarah Silverman from last. And this is how fast the rage, the outrage just filters through you because it becomes part of your life. I couldn't think of what the awful project was that she was on with Seth Rogen last year, but it was Santa Inc. Do you remember Santa Inc.? The awful...
I didn't.
Okay. It's a super disrespectful show, adult claymation show about Santa Claus that's got everything that you could possibly imagine wrong, every type of crude humor, while being super anti-Christian, super anti-family, super anti-everything, and you wonder who the hell is this for? And I couldn't remember, like, that's how quickly it fades. Like, I was annoyed.
It was Seth Rogen?
Seth Rogen, yeah.
Just some of the worst people
in
Hollywood, basically.
And they couldn't even think of it. Like, and it was like, so that's what happens when they try to make new stuff. And even that's not new. That's just an already established part of our culture, Santa Claus.
Yeah.
But not, at the very least, not based off of...
high hopes for Violent Night, by the way.
Yes, we're hoping that Violent Night ends up good. There's some fantastic scenes in
Watch
that trailer.
the trailer if you haven't.
So it's just... It boggles my mind that this is a viable method that they seem to think works for how they market stuff.
I'd like to read a copy pasta that's been spread around
about
the new iteration of Fred, which I almost believed was real because it's so stupid.
I found this. This is apparently from iFunny.
I knew that it wasn't like directly from a showrunner, but like you can almost believe it at this point with how absurd everything's gotten. It says, much like the original Fred, our Fred is a white guy who loves to take credit for everyone else's work. But our Fred is also a pretty boy gym rat, riddled with daddy issues, big enough to make Eric Trump say damn. And yet, Fred knows that no matter how douchey he acts, he'll never live up to his father's expectations. Because Fred has a deep, dark secret. He's 16 years old and hasn't gone through puberty yet. Worse, his secret is getting harder and harder to hide. Not just from his father, but from his girlfriend, Daphne, who's getting a little bored with just the over-the-clothes stuff. Fortunately, Fred is wrongly imprisoned for murders he didn't commit. He needs the help of Poor Town's High's least popular student, Velma, to prove his innocence. And while it's weird for Fred to see, let alone talk to a girl like Velma, he quickly realizes her thoughts and emotions have value.
The level, it's just... Mwah.
Like, it's actually believable that was the new, like, bio for Fred.
I also like that it's fortunately he was wrongly imprisoned for murder.
Yeah.
Buys him time.
It's like I was like I could see them saying this because he's the only one they didn't race swap out of the...
So there's got to be something wrong with him, right?
Well, he's gonna say insensitive stuff the whole thing and be like, they're gonna be like, no, Fred, you can't say that. That's wrong. And
he's gonna be the unwoke douche.
Glenn Howerton as Fred, Constance Wu as Daphne, Sam Richardson as Norville, a.k.a. Shaggy, Mindy Kaling as Velma. I've seen every opinion about Shaggy being race swapped. That's like a lot of people like it kind of makes sense because he's like there's a YouTuber I watch named Fredo who's like I'm a black man and he's like if I hear a sound coming from downstairs I run the other way. I don't want to go look for it. Like that's.
I just feel like there is too much money in paying people to remake and wokeify nostalgic things, especially remaking them for adults. Like That's enough. It's like, it reminds me, the fact that this is like a cartoon for adults about high school age children, as far as I know, like it reminds me of young adult books being considered just like a genre they're not actually for. They're just like for anyone to enjoy.
Why it's nobody actually expects YA readers to be YA.
Which is crazy.
They're adult women.
Which
let's face it.
Ugh, it's weird.
Also, the way you guys think comics are woke, you think movies are woke, you think those industries are horrible. Holy crap. The YA writing scene is one of the most toxic, and I don't use that word lightly, toxic places you will ever find. I used to watch these videos. It's like they like cancel themselves.
To return to our thesis, people buy bookstores who have left-wing ideology. Bookstores go look for books that support their ideology. So publishers know that certain things should be in books. And you know who still buys a lot of books? Young adults, aka teenagers. Like, this is a
Wasn't there like a golden age of YA? There was like Divergent, Hunger Games,
I never
Twilight,
read it, but
The Fault in Our Stars.
I've never seen any of those. I mean, I saw the movies of
it's all
Hunger
original
Games.
content, you know? I love it. I miss that stuff.
But I know that those were like, but now getting that stuff made is like, what was the one like Zach from Comics Manor covered, like this author who like, she like canceled her own book series because of the backlash she got. She was like a Chinese American author, and she basically canceled her book because she got backlash because she included slavery in her book. And they said, you can't put slavery in your book, as if Chinese people have never experienced slavery of any sort, as if that matters, as if you had to experience it to write about it, right? Absolutely bonkers. So if you're going to write a YA novel, get your hazmat suit, kind of like that, like me putting on my hazmat suit to check BuzzFeed.
The thing is, like, if you write a YA novel that doesn't have those values, and if there's anyone in the chat who's tried this, like, I bet most publishers are like, no, we can't print this. It's not good. We don't like it. Doesn't have enough representation. Like, it becomes, you know, really publishing is an oversaturated industry. There are more people trying to publish books than there are actual books that will get published in a year. And like, people who either have these values or are willing to cave to the values will get their book out. And it's kind of sad and toxic.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.